Oh, I just want to thank you, Dennis. You took me back. You took me back to the sanctuary at Huntington Beach within this very room. That song opens my heart. I can hear Eric Strom singing it to this moment. I want to thank you. Stay in the place of love. Stay in the place of light. Stay in the place of joy. What a powerful, powerful affirmation. What a beautiful service we've had up until this moment. When we think about the love that is in this room, it's enough love to walk through every fear, to walk through every joy, walk through anything that we have going on in our own daily experiences. That's the divine expressing itself through each and every one of us. When I see Reverend Margie, I think of love. Beautiful, beautiful soul. She means the world to me. Our talk title today is Sparking Imagination, and our talk titles all focus on one thing. It's a pause for guidance for this month. And when I think about pausing for guidance and sparking imagination, two things come to my mind. One is Ernest Holmes and the principles that we have learned and that we embody and that we show up in the world as. And the other one is Walt Disney. For those of you who don't know, I worked at Disney for 16 years. So I got to learn a little bit about what Walt's imagination was and what his dreams were. And it makes me think about the foundation that I had at Disney. I was 17. I was a junior in high school, supposed to be a one summer job, and I quit the month of my 33rd birthday. And the only reason I quit was because Reverend Peggy Price offered me the admin assistant position at the Huntington Beach Church. That was me answering the call. I also had a lead as like a foreman at Disneyland, and his name was Larry, and he knew Ernest Holmes. I used to hide in my stock closet and read The Science of Mind and other class books, and one time Larry saw me and he goes, "What are you reading?" I said, "Oh, you won't know what it is." And he goes, "No, what are you reading?" And so I showed it to him, and every time I saw him after that, he gave me a new page to read from The Science of Mind. He wrote it on an old piece of paper, and he would share his stories of his parents knowing Ernest Holmes and how he would listen. He didn't understand, he was young, and he just retired actually last month from Disney. So I have a lot of opportunities to realize and recognize that there's a divine that's expressing itself through ways we don't even understand sometimes. I got my job at Disneyland on a dare, to be honest with you. A friend of mine dared me to apply, and I took the dare, and she quit the first night of training. 16 years later, I left to move into a new adventure. And what a gift those years were, and they still are. Ernest Holmes says, "Never limit your view of life by any past experience." And that's an opportunity to continue and see a new experience every day, every moment, what's happening, to realize there's something new that's going on around us. I'm going to share a quick story. It's called The Power of Pause. It's a book by Terry Hershey, and I heard him speak many years ago. I'm also a chaplain, and we were invited to a prayer breakfast down in South County at Mission Hospital, and he was the guest speaker. And he was talking about the power of pause in spirituality and in faith and in the work we do as chaplains, and I really liked what he had to say. And in his book, there's a story I'm going to share with you. He says, "An American traveler planned a long safari to Africa. He was a compulsive man, loaded down with maps, timetables, and agendas. Men had been engaged from a local tribe to carry the cumbersome load of supplies, luggage, and essential stuff." When I think about all the things we might carry with us that's essential stuff. "On the first morning, they all woke very early and traveled very fast and went very far. On the second morning, they all woke very early and traveled very fast and went very far. On the third morning, they all woke up very early and traveled very fast and went very far. And the Americans seemed pleased. On the fourth morning, the tribesmen refused to move. They simply sat by a tree. The American became upset. This was a waste of valuable time. Can someone tell me what is going on here? The translator answered, they are waiting for their souls to catch up with their bodies. The sacred necessity of stillness is an invitation to savor the pleasure of slowness and the moments of stillness or even silence, letting them work their magic. So I think sometimes we move so fast and we want to get things done that we forget our souls need to catch up with our bodies. And that's the gift of the silence, the gift of stillness, the gift of recognizing the divine is expressing itself so magnificently. Just like we heard the music of Dennis this morning, staying in this place, of calling forth the love that is here, the light, the grace, the joy. For those of you who might remember last week, I mentioned that affirmation, I choose fun, with the green glitter jar. I brought it this week. I took it from my altar because it's a reminder for me to slow down. And the kids made all of these things, so I was participating in a fundraiser, so I just loved it. What you do is you shake the glitter jar, and I love green, so that's kind of what drew me to the color. And you meditate as you watch the glitter just kind of sink. And it reminds you to just rest in the pause for a moment. And as I'm resting in the pause and watching my glitter, I'm focusing on an affirmation. And most of the time, it's I choose fun in that moment because it's reminding me to be playful, just like Reverend Nicole shared last week. And I love that they put it on a shell little platform thing because it reminds me of the beach. Again, about playing and having fun. What do you think happens if we forget to allow ourselves to be who we are? Or we're not given the opportunity to be that which we're called to be? Depression? Do you think maybe we feel lost, we don't feel connected? I don't know a lot about musical theater, even though my daughter graduated from Orange County School of the Arts, music and theater and film and TV. But I do know a few things, and one of the things that I just loved seeing the kids play and interact with one another is they were getting to be who they were called to be. In one of her rehearsals, she came home and she said, I'll never forget this, she was in 8th grade, she's 25 now. She said, oh my gosh, we got to dance today. And I'm like, wonderful. And she goes, and a little boy started crying. And I said, why? And he goes, he was so happy he got to dance today. And he wasn't teased for it. And I thought, this is why OSHA's here, to allow these children to be the divine expression of who they are. And Terry shares this story as well. He says, in the 1930s, when Jillian was a child, her teachers considered her learning disabled. One of those students who didn't pay attention or focus and who could not sit still. ADHD was not yet a diagnosis, so Jillian was labeled difficult, and her parents were deeply troubled. And they were asked to meet with the school counselor. And as they were meeting, they talked about their different options and the things that they could do. And through the entire meeting, Jillian sat with her hands stoic, doing her best to act natural and well-behaved. At the end, the counselor asked to see Jillian's parents privately outside the office. But before he left, he turned on his radio. Music filled the office. Outside the office door, the counselor asked Jillian's parents to look back inside at their daughter. She was no longer seated. She was now moving about the room with music, free, untroubled, and blissful. Counselor said, your daughter isn't sick, she's a dancer. And Terry Hershey acknowledges, he says, this story could have gone another way. Jillian could have been labeled and medicated. However, she was given the freedom to live from the inside out. And guess what happened? A lifetime of dance on stage and in films, and an extensive career as a choreographer for shows such as Cats and The Phantom of the Opera. difficult little Jillian became a great Jillian Lynn. So we never know how we're being called when we're sparking that imagination, because that imagination comes from the divine. It's part of that creative side of the divine. We think of will and we think of imagination, and we think one is more important than the other. I'm going to have willpower not to do whatever it is I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, but I bet you I'm imagining something different in my mind. Maybe I'm imagining things that I'm feeling called to do, but I'm not sure I should do them. Maybe I'm too shy, or maybe I'm afraid I'm going to fail, so I'm afraid to do that. Did you know there's a third definition of shame, which I just looked up last night? It says, disappointed expectation is the third type of shame, which is when you set out to do something and you fail. And I think so many times we're so afraid of having that experience, we stop ourselves from reaching out and doing something fun, whatever that might be, or whatever we're feeling called to do. Ernest Holmes says, true imagination is not fanciful daydreaming, it's fire from heaven. Ernest Holmes also talks about fire from heaven when he talks about prayer treatment. He says that it's fire in the belly. It's when we come from that conviction of truth when we pray. We have an affirmative prayer that we do here in Science of Mind, in Religious Science Centers for Spiritual Living. It's that fire from heaven, calling it forth from the divine, from within, from all around us. It's that essence of life that's wanting to express itself through us. We have to find that opportunity and sometimes that courage to say yes, because there's always transformation happening. We just might not understand. Like I shared, I worked at Disney for over 16 years. And that time taught me a lot about serving, because I was in custodial. I wore the whites with the little pan and broom, and loved my time at the park, because I knew I was part of a greater vision. When Walt Disney created Mickey Mouse, which his original name was Mortimer, by the way, his wife said, I don't think that will fly. So he picked Mickey Mouse, which is true. Little bit more Disney trivia. How do you think Disneyland got its address? Do you know that Walt got to pick his address? 1313 Harbor Boulevard, the 13th letter of the alphabet is M. It's Mickey Mouse. I thought that was kind of cool. I learned a lot of trivia working at the park. But that's one of the fun ones for me, because Walt had the courage to say yes to a dream. I can still picture his apartment above Main Street. It's above the fire department on Main Street, and you can feel his presence even when I used to clean it. You can feel his presence even when you're in there. You can just feel the love he had for Disneyland and for what it meant to him, and to allow his imagination to just be let loose. My friend Ken, who he and another friend wrote Cleaning the Kingdom. It's a book on custodial at Disneyland. I asked him a little bit about Walt Disney, and he said that as far as imagination, Walt liked the term so much that he adopted the terms Imagineers and Imagineering. Although he wasn't the first to use the Imagineering term, he is quoted with saying, it's kind of fun to do the impossible, when he and the Imagineers were considering something they had been told was impossible to do. So Walt really kind of set that tone for me way back when I was 17. Another friend of mine, we didn't know it, we worked together at the Marriott, and I'd actually worked with her dad when he was in the paint shop at Disneyland. And I was talking to her last night, and I said, what do you think your dad, he has Alzheimer's now, but I said, what do you think your dad would say about Walt and imagination? Because he worked at the park 32 years, and he did all kinds of things around the park as part of the paint department. And this is what she shared about her dad. She said, whatever he did, he knew he was a part of what Walt had in mind to open up the imagination in all of us. He was very proud to serve in the paint shop, being responsible for many areas of the park in his 32 years as a cast member. So we all play a part in a project or a dream that's coming forth, and every one of ours is important. We're called to do what we're called to do, to be part of the one. The divine, Madeline Fielding, who was one of my practitioner friends, one of my mentors, used to talk about us as a spoke, as a wheel, and we're all spokes in the wheel of God. We all have a gift, we all have something that we're feeling called to do. And what is it that is yours? Joni Polanski, who is another practitioner friend of mine, she taught my Bible in the Light of Science and Mind class in ministerial school, and she talked about imagination once. And she pointed to a table, and she said, "How do you think that table came to be?" I said, "Carpenter? I don't know." She goes, "It came from the mind of God through someone who then was able to create it." Someone might have drawn whatever those architect blueprints are, and then someone else took up the carpentry to build it. We all play a part in that. The divine has an idea, comes through us in our prayer time or our meditation, our journaling, whatever it might be, and it comes forth in expression, just like our teaching symbol. There's that higher idea, that seed that's planted, and then we bring it forth within each and every one of us. That is a gift that we have. And there's different ways to tap into that imagination. Vision boards. If you've never participated in a vision board, it's a powerful experience. I use it with my families who are grieving. I know several practitioners who have taught workshops on vision boards. It's where you create in picture form what it is that you're feeling called to experience or to do or how to show up. Map. Marjorie talked about it last week, and so did Reverend Nicole. How we have our own map, which is our meditation time, our affirmations, and our prayers. And Zig Ziglar shares the 3 C's of life: choices, chances, changes. You must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. So I'm wondering what's calling forth from within you in your own imagination that you want to experience and have that opportunity to participate in, enjoy. Dennis is singing a lot of songs that he wrote. That's an amazing gift he's sharing with all of us. He's allowing that divine essence to express itself magnificently through and as him in a way that touches lives. It opened my heart from the minute he started in this very room today. It was like anchoring and centering and grounding, because that song is a connection to me to the divine. Ernest Holmes says in Thoughts Are Things, "You are part of the universal mind, one with the universal substance. You live, move, and have your being in pure spirit. All the abundance, the power, and the harmony of this spirit exists at the center of your being. You experience this good in such degree as you accept, believe in, and feel it. As you enter into life, feeling the divine presence in everything, more and more, you will hear a song of joy singing at the center of your being. You have only to be still and listen to this song of life, for it is always there." I love mugs. This one says, "Unlock your imagination." It's from Downtown Disney. We have to unlock our imagination. We have the key within, if we so choose to unlock that imagination that's within us. When we enter into the pause and we can hear and sense and feel and know whatever it is that's calling itself forth, when we say yes, I can only imagine how many amazing and beautiful things will unfold. We may hit bumps in the road, that's part of the life experience, and we've been equipped with spiritual tools to help us when and if we hit those bumps. Life is a gift that we have been given to express ourselves. The divine expresses through each and every one of us. It's why we're here. We are an outpicturing of that manifestation, of that one mind. As I enter into prayer, I'm going to ask you to think about this quote by Walt Disney. Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. And I invite us to turn within, recognizing that we hold the key of love, of life, of wisdom. We are that key, that expression of the divine in this moment. We are the gift. As I recognize and know God is all there is, I recognize and know that it is the divine mystery. It is love and expression. It's in this very room, as light, as grace, as love, as peace. It is that higher idea of who you are and who I am, and in that place we are one. It is that higher idea wanting to express itself through us in unimaginable ways and imaginable. Because I know with God all things are possible, because it is the divine asking and we are saying yes. As I recognize and know that as I discover within me that which is calling itself forth, maybe not understanding it in the moment, not even liking it, and yet feeling pulled forth by love, by vision, recognizing and knowing that it is the love that is unfolding and surrounding me in this moment. And I invite us to hold all of our loved ones and all those we hold in our own prayers in this quietness right now, as we have just a quiet moment of silence to hold our loved ones in prayer. Sitting in the pause, allowing my soul to catch up with my body, to allow that infinite wisdom to guide and direct me, anchored and centered in love, anchored and centered in that higher idea that's unfolding in every moment. Grateful for this time together today, absolutely knowing that all is unfolding for the highest and best good for all. Ernest Holmes said that I stand for something and against nothing. I stand for love. I stand for peace. I stand for recognizing the divine is expressing itself beautifully through each and every one of us in this very moment. As I give thanks for this time this morning, I enfold our kids, I enfold Reverend Nicole, I enfold Reverend Judy, all those who are in this moment having that experience of life. I am grateful. Just as the dragonfly represents transformation, it is the love of who we are. Grateful, grateful, grateful. I say thank you, God. I already know it is done as I release my word into the law, and so it is. Thank you very much.